At a time when Neolithic settlements based their very existence on an agricultural economy, it was only natural for inhabitants to turn to the exchange of goods among themselves or barter trade in order to cater for their various needs. Of course, this kind of trade presented certain problems, and soon a common denominator was sought through which they could carry out their transactions. One such unit, as mentioned by Homer, was cattle. The discovery of copper and the realization of its usefulness and value led to it being used by ancient peoples as a numismatic unit. It did not take long for Cyprus, rich in copper ore, to be established as the most important source as regards mining and processing of the precious mineral in the ancient world. The concept of mining came to Cyprus from the Hellenic world. The first Cypriot coins were of solid silver and were made by hammering a silver disc between two engraved mitres. In this way, the patterns on the mitre would be transferred onto the coin. The first Cypriot coin was minted by Evelthon, king of Salamis, during his reign, and depicted a reclining ram. The king's name was written in Cypro-syllabic script and continued to adorn the coins of Salamis during his successors. During the period in question, Cyprus was under Persian domination, leading to the numismatic system being followed being similar to precisely that of the Persians. Coins, however, were also being minted in other city kingdoms of Cyprus, each one of which had its own symbols. Paphos began minting its own coins as of the end of the 6th and beginning of the 5th century BC, and, as a rule, their iconography features the eagle and the bull. During the 4th century BC, the goddess Aphrodite also appears on Paphian coins. Citium, which had been subjugated by the Phoenicians, minted coins bearing Phoenician inscriptions. One side of the coins depicts Heracles, or Hercules in Latin, and the other a lion. Amathus, considered the kingdom of the indigenous inhabitants of Cyprus, began minting coins between the 5th and 4th centuries BC. One side of the coins features a reclining lion, and quite often an eagle hovering above it. The other depicts the bust of a lion, mouth wide open. The coins of Idalion, in addition to the name of the local king, also feature the name of the city. Other city kingdoms such as Soli, Marion, and Lapithos also minted their own coins. The first gold Cypriot coin was minted by Evagoras I, king of Salamis, in order to bolster his domain's finances. In addition to minting the island's first gold coin, Evagoras I also introduced to the island the depiction of Hellenic gods and demigods. Evagoras's coins are the first on which the initial letter of the king's name in the Greek alphabet is imprinted. The Persian domination of Cyprus ended with the prevalence in the eastern Mediterranean of Alexander the Great. The Cypriot kings joined ranks with Alexander, albeit maintaining their autonomy, even though their mints were placed in the service of the Macedonian leader and adhered to his numismatic system. Alexander's silver coins depict himself in the guise of Heracles on the obverse, while the reverse features Zeus, god of all Hellenes, holding a scepter and an eagle. Following the death of Alexander the Great, Cyprus became a bone of contention among his successors. With the prevalence of Ptolemy, the Cypriot kingdoms were abolished, and the island was incorporated into the Ptolemaic state as one more province with Paphos as its capital. Its numismatic system was adapted to Ptolemaic standards, with Ptolemy's visage dominating all coins minted during both his and his successors' reigns. Cyprus's first Roman period coins were minted in 27 BC by Augustus Caesar. These were made of copper and bore the emperor's bust on the obverse, with a depiction of winged victory on the reverse. During the reign of Claudius, 54 BC, Copper coins with the inscription ZOOMCYPRUS, surrounded by a laurel wreath, first made their appearance on the island. The ZOOMCYPRUS was established in the 2nd century BC as a guild of delegates from all Cypriot cities, and its character was of a purely religious nature. The first Byzantine coins of Cyprus were minted circa 610 AD by Heraclius at Salamis, which by then had been renamed Constantia. In 1184, the then governor of the island, Isakios Komnenos, taking advantage of the weakening of the Byzantine state, proclaimed himself the independent despot of Cyprus. His coins, most probably minted in Nicosia, adhered to Byzantine standards and were either concave or flat. In 1191, Cyprus fell into the hands of Richard the Lionheart of England, who was at the time taking part in the Third Crusade. Richard sold Cyprus, first to the Knights Templar and then to Guy de Lusignan, who proceeded to establish the Lusignan dynasty, which ended up ruling the island for 300 years. Guy de Lusignan introduced to Cyprus the numismatic system of Jerusalem, with which he was accustomed, while at the same time he continued the minting of bezants, the par excellence coins of the Byzantine Empire. Both bezants and dinars were